Hi everyone, I'm Russ,
I am Mark.
and this is a spirited endeavor, Rye-a-Palooza.
For sure. Oh, and special mention to Togo.
Yeah, that's right.
He's joining us here.
Yeah, our whiskey mooch.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, rye. We've been talking about ryes for a long time.
We really have, and it's been funny for me because, coming off, we're primarily Scotch. That's generally what we gravitate towards. And we've done the bourbon thing, and we found some bourbons that we like, but it seems like for us, the rye is kind of what draws our attention as far as American whiskey is concerned.
It's the truth. But even some of the bourbons that we liked had a rye component to them.
Well, the McKenna,
The Henry McKenna.
I mean, man, and that rye was really appreciated in that one.
Yeah, that really gave some great flavors and some floral notes and some herbal notes that seemed to be pop up in ryes.
Yeah, no, I took what bourbon generally has to offer and kind of kicked it up a little bit, and I really appreciated that there was a complexity that the McKenna offered that we really hadn't seen elsewhere to date. Anyhow, now who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Well, tonight we got four. We had three in the notes, but we decided to add a special one in here. So,
and we've had an interesting range actually. I mean, both as far as what they offer as well as the price range.
It's the truth. Well, we got the Rittenhouse here, which isn't very expensive at all.
No, that one only goes for $25, and personally, I found it to be a really good, solid rye.
Yeah, for sure. We actually did some priming the pump episodes with these prior to the show, and so that was a find.
I was thoroughly impressed with that one.
All right, yeah, we'll go through it again because that's what we do.
Absolutely.
All right, then we got the High West Double Rye. Now we've done the Rendezvous Rye before. The High West is it's a little different. It's a blend of two ryes. Both of them have been aged at least 2 years. But one is older than the other in the literature they were discussing. Yeah. And so there's one that's really hot and spicy, and then there's a second rye that was put in there that's a little older that's going to cool it off. Then there's the Russell's Reserve,
which that's just fantastic. That was a gift from Mark actually, and greatly appreciated one because that is a damn fine rye.
Yeah, and this one's a single barrel rye also.
Yeah. And that was Wild Turkey Distillery, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yes. And then the Pikesville will be our last selection tonight. Now this one has been aged for 6 years, at least 6 years they say, and this one is very, very interesting, and it's one of the in 2015 it was the double gold winner of the San Francisco Spirits Competition, and it was the number 1 rye in the world and number 2 whiskey in the world.
Which that's impressive.
I know, no kidding. And again, there isn't a single bottle here that isn't affordable.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. So that was 25. The High West was about 35. This one was like 67.
Yeah.
And then this one was only like 45.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them really. The prices, it's kind of nice dealing with this side of things as opposed to the Scotch, because Scotch is getting more expensive. Finding these, especially this one, just blew my mind at $25, and to be a good solid whiskey.
Yeah.
Very impressed.
Yeah, and you're not wrong about the Scotch getting a little more expensive. I was out shopping today and saw the Brut Lottie, the classic Lottie.
Yeah.
Was like $70.
Yeah.
It's
getting bumped up.
It's getting a little crazy.
Yep, a little bit.
Okay. So what do you want to start with tonight?
I'm going to go with the Rittenhouse, I think.
Okay.
Just as a good starting point here.
All right.
Really easy to find. It's not something you're going to see on the top shelf generally because it's not Knob Creek or something of that nature. But you generally will find it in most places. And again, $20 to $25. is typically what you're going to find, and in my opinion, it is a damn good rye for that price.
You know, and
Actually, I think it hits a little bit above its weight class as far as the price is concerned versus taste.
well, something we've said, you know, is fairly often here. You know, it doesn't have to be an expensive bottle in order to be good.
Yeah.
In fact, we're finding sometimes that some of the more affordable whiskeys have just as much complexity as as a $200 bottle.
Well, we've tried some bourbons that were pretty high end, big name that we just weren't all that impressed with because they focused too much on being smooth and less on being complex, I think. And that's one thing with the Scotch is we've gotten used to a certain level of complexity, and we kind of look for that. I know I do.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, so first thing about this one is, I mean, it's got a beautiful amber color.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anyone here that doesn't have a beautiful amber color. There's no color added in any
Yeah.
things, in any of these things. I don't think any of them are chill filtered. They're, you know, this is how it comes out of the barrel.
Yeah. This is bottled in bond, so 50% ABV. We've covered that a couple times.
Yep,
but
aged at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I gotta say, that's just a good solid rye.
I really like this one.
I do too. It's
That
an
one?
easy drinker.
It's the truth. On the nose, I mean, it has like this butter pecan
Yeah.
kind of nose to it.
Yep.
It's very sweet. It's
But there's a bit of spice to it. There's a little bit of ABV to it, but it's well balanced.
it's true, and it's got some of these beautiful like herbal notes to it.
Yeah.
A little bit of floral, a little bit of floral in there. But really on the back end of this, I just get butter pecan.
Yeah. No, the nuttiness to this is really, I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
We had the Jura, as far as Scotch is concerned, that kind of had that aspect to it. This presents it as well, although a little differently, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Again, $25, crying out loud. There's no reason.
Yeah, there's
for me
no
to
reason
not
this
have
should. Yeah, there's no reason for this not to be in someone's bar.
Yeah, I think if you're into Bullet and some of the other ryes, this would be one worth checking out. I think what this offers is it's not quite as smooth as a Bullet, but it has a little bit more going on in the glass, and it's still easy to drink. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. My wife was kind enough. My beautiful wife was kind enough to make some brownies for us.
Ooh.
And brownies are an amazing pairing with whiskey, or chocolate's an amazing pairing with whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take a little bite of brownie with each one of these things.
I think that's a
as
fine
a
idea.
pairing. Because I think the brownie is going to pair very well with the whiskey.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's a responsible thing to do anyhow. I mean, we have brownies.
Yes.
So
there are brownies. So
yes.
we're just gonna do this.
The dog's all about the brownies. Apparently it wasn't the whiskey. Okay. Good brownie.
Rich, chocolatey, chocolate chips in there too.
Mm-hmm.
My wife did not skim.
Yeah.
I love you, Mrs. Aberdeen. Damn.
I tell you, man, this needs to become an ingredient in a lot of like chocolate goods.
I agree.
Wow, that works really well.
Yeah, it really helps bring out the caramel in that. I'm getting more of that caramel. It pairs really well with the chocolate.
Yeah,
Helps. It makes the chocolate a little richer.
I agree. It really does. I like that. I mean, chocolate generally goes really well with whiskey anyhow, but there's something about a rye that really seems to add something to the experience. That little bit of a, not necessarily floral in this case, but the nutty aspect of it and the spice aspect is welcome.
Yes, for sure.
It reminds me, what it reminds me of is you can get that the chocolate with the jalapenos in it or peppers in it.
yes.
It reminds me a bit of that.
Yeah, or something that has a little bit of saltiness like
Yeah.
like the baking covered chocolate
Yep.
or a little sea salt in there.
Oh, yes. Joe says, "Oh Lord, sauerkraut and brownies, I am in trouble later."
Yes, you are.
You have no idea.
That would be correct.
Yeah, and there were beans too, so there's that.
We went all out. It was a guy's night.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 up tonight is going to be the High West Double Rye.
Yep.
And again, the Rendezvous Rye was something very special. A buddy of mine gave me the original bottle. It turned us on to rye. I don't know if I would have tried rye, if I didn't have that bottle to try. And so Scott, if you're out there, love you, man.
Thanks.
You really helped us, guide us down this path. So we're excited to try this.
No, it definitely expanded our horizons because for me, rye was never really a thing until I tried that, and you were the one that introduced it to me, and that really just blew my mind because we were using it to prime the pump for the Scotch episodes and felt that it was holding its own against some of the really good Scotches we were having.
It's the truth, and this is before we were filming the priming the pumps. This is just us. Just goofing around, trying to loosen up before a show.
Yeah.
So all right, so let's see what this one's about. Okay, so
So again, for me, the mint, that mint eucalyptus thing.
It's eucalyptus. A little like anise, that liquor, that black licorice.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. It's all herbal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not getting any caramel. I'm not getting any like floral notes in that. I'm just getting like herbal, like almost like a medicine-y kind of.
Yeah.
Very spicy. Cinnamon.
Yeah. Well, there's a nice little bit of a sweetness, almost like a vanilla extract to it too. That I'm picking up on, but it doesn't seem balanced to me. That's one thing we've talked about with whiskeys in the past, where all the flavors kind of work together and there's a bit of depth going on, and this one seems to be lacking in that regard. Some of the flavors themselves are fine. I mean, I'm fine with the mint / eucalyptus, and I'm fine with a little bit of the vanilla extract, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of that depth or complexity that I'm looking for.
Well, I mean, it's on the bottle. They said it's a young whiskey. It's 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I think it presents itself as a very young whiskey.
Yeah.
And I think the older whiskey they used probably wasn't old enough.
That would be my thinking.
Because it doesn't really, that's a very hot whiskey.
Yeah.
It's got that spiciness. It's got the ABV in it.
Well, again, by comparison, I mean, just look at the difference between these two. This one's bottled in bond, so that's 4 years, and look at the color versus this one. So that gives you a perspective of the youth that we're dealing with, which is an interesting point by itself because, I mean, we know what a young Scotch is like. I mean, Kilchoman is one of our favorites.
Sure.
And it's a very young whiskey, and it has certain aspects that are not generally present when you get over like 10 years, 12 years, that sort of thing. Maybe what we see here is what we should expect for a fairly immature rye.
I think so. I'm, out of all the ryes that we've tried at this point, right now this one doesn't rank real high with me.
I'm the same way, and I mean, right now it's sitting next to a $25 bottle of Rittenhouse, and I take the Rittenhouse over it, to be honest with you, because it presents to me the stuff that I expect out of a rye.
Yeah, but I would absolutely grab that bottle of Rendezvous Rye.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Now the question then becomes, how does it pair with the chocolate?
Oh, let's find out.
Because maybe with chocolate, it's somehow better than the rest of them.
All right, so I have a very beautiful piece of brownie here.
Yeah, I got a chip on that one intentionally.
Mm.
Oh.
Nadine is the best brandy maker ever.
I'm kind of I have to go with you on that one. That's tasty.
She has this recipe that's just amazing. I will not share. That doesn't go real well.
No, I think I like the Rittenhouse with the chocolate better, to be honest with you.
I don't think there's enough sweetness in that.
I agree. Yeah, I think the Rittenhouse was much better with chocolate than the High West in this particular case. Now again, we're just talking about this particular one. We've had the Rendezvous Rye, was fantastic. This one, however, I think is a bit of a letdown by comparison.
Yeah, I think so.
Had I not had the Rendezvous Rye, my expectations for them would probably be a little bit different, and my impression might be a little bit different as well. But yeah, I think if I had to choose between the two, I'm going Rendezvous Rye.
You know what I want to do with that one? I want to recask it.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I bet you could add some character to it.
Yeah, I think so. I think I want to throw that into a. We'll get another barrel. Maybe we'll just throw some rye in there.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about recently as well. As in the past year, barrels have become much easier to find. I mean, that's kind of a new thing. People are definitely, getting interested or getting involved in this whiskey journey, just like we have, because now you can go down to Hobby Lobby and find a cask. I mean, they're easy to find now.
All right. Well, I'm gonna find like a 1.5 liter and maybe recast that one.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
Okay. I'm gonna put this one to the side. No bueno.
Yeah, not a favorite.
Okay. Number 3 of tonight, and it's not. Yeah, it's unusual that we're doing so damn many of these things.
That one, however, is fantastic.
All right.
So again, that was a gift from Mark, and a greatly appreciated gift at that. An absolutely fantastic rye, in my opinion. And what I like about this one, so this is a single barrel to begin with, and it has everything that you expect out of a rye, but it's like they cranked it up a notch.
Yeah, they cranked that one up to 11 for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, beautiful color on that one. That one is just deep and rich. Beautiful, great legs on it. This one has, very, very beautiful palate cling. It really
yeah, it's gonna linger.
It really has that lingering finish to it.
And I love the nose.
Man, I love the nose on this one.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, and there's a floral component to this.
Yes.
That is missing from all the others, and it's really unique to this particular one.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what I explained on the Priming the Pump episode is I grow a lot of flowers, and one of the ones I grow are the Stargazer lilies, and the Stargazer has like this really amazing smell to it. It's not a really smelly flower, but there's a light in it. It's a really, really interesting smelling flower, and I smell that here. It is it's a beautiful flower. The nose on that is right there. Yeah, if you ever find yourself in a grocery store and everything, you see a bouquet with Stargazer lilies, just give that a quick smell, and you're not going to smell a lot on that, but it does have a very unique smell, and that's what I smell here.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like it's floral, but it is. There's, certainly a floral aspect to it. There is almost like a little bit of a licorice note to it too that I'm picking up on, but really just
getting that caramel in there a little bit.
It's what you want out of a rye.
Mm-hmm. I love this one because it really tastes like that flower smells.
Yeah.
And then it changes, and it becomes very herbal.
Yep.
And I'm picking up like the black licorice in there.
Yeah.
I'm picking up maybe a little mint aspect to it, but not like eucalyptus.
Of the ones we've tried so far,
maybe
this
like a
is
parsley kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, this is the closest to the High West Rendezvous Rye. Yes. It has a lot of similar characteristics and probably would be the closest out of the bunch in my opinion. But it's just a very well-rounded, balanced, and that little bit of a floral aspect adds kind of a brightness to it that I haven't seen out of anything else so far.
Yeah, that's the truth. Now, it also has on the back end, I'm really getting that butter pecan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting that, those caramel notes in there. And it's really kind of up through the sinuses on the exhale.
Agreed. No, the finish is nice and strong on it. It lingers a little bit, and like you said, the exhale through the sinuses, you get so much more there.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. I mean, I could just smell this one all day. I want this as an air freshener in my car.
And this one has just been a sipper for me since it was gifted to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It has just been an occasional sipper because there's so much there. You could just spend some time just enjoying it and kind of figuring out what all the little details are. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think that this one would be enjoyed in front of a fire, just on a very quiet night, without any TV on or anything like that. Maybe a little music playing in the background.
Yeah.
Crackling fire in a glass of this, and I think that'd be a perfect night.
Agreed. No, certainly a favorite for me.
All right. Let's see how that pairs well with chocolate.
Agreed. While we're doing that, just to bring people up to speed, we've got a couple new folks that have joined us. So again, the Rittenhouse, we felt that was a really good one at $25, a killer deal. We have the High West, and that is the double rye. That one we thought was interesting, but not really what we were looking for. And then the Russell Reserve single barrel is just fantastic.
Wow,
nice
chocolate pairs well with that, but in a very different way than the.
But the floral component adds something very different than what we got out of the Rittenhouse.
It's the truth. It actually makes the chocolate a little bitter. I feel the smoothness and the vanilla in that. Maybe doesn't play quite as well with the chocolate, but brings out some interesting flavors.
Yeah, I gotta say the Rittenhouse so far has been my favorite with chocolate.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Well, the Rittenhouse doesn't have any of the eucalyptus. There really isn't a floral to it. It's a pretty, straight bourbon as far as it's not going to veer off into any weirdness or anything like that. Not bourbon, rye. You think of rye, that's basically what I expect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a straight rye. I mean, that one's bottled in bond. I mean, it's a very singular vision for rye.
Yeah. When I think rye, that's what I expect. Now, there have been a few of them, like the Russell Reserve. That one is rye, but then adds that unique character of, again, the floral. I love that fact, too.
Okay. So the last one up tonight is the Pikesville.
Yeah.
Now, this one, this one is award-winning rye. It's one of the, it was.
Now that's Heaven Hill that produces that, and Heaven Hill's the same one that produces the Rittenhouse too, which I thought was interesting because we haven't dealt with Heaven Hill, if I remember correctly, until
Not yet.
tonight.
Yeah, these are our first for the Heaven Hill.
And one thing we've talked about is that bottle's just sexy. I mean, that is so cool.
Yeah, I think this one's going to end up being a lamp. Because I mean the bottle looks old timey.
Yeah.
It's got an interesting shape. It's round in the back. It's kind of flat on the front.
Yeah.
So it really does remind me of like an old west, general store kind of bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the color on that one. It's really dark compared to the others. The lightest of them, interestingly enough, is the High West, but by comparison, I would say that's definitely a darker shade than what we were getting out of any of the others. It's more of an amber color.
Now, before Prohibition, this was actually distilled in Maryland, and then after Prohibition, this ended up being distilled down in Kentucky, and ended up being part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
Which is interesting because, I mean, I never would have considered Maryland as being a source for, whiskey, really.
But
I think Maryland, I think like crab legs and stuff like
of
that.
course. But and something that you mentioned was Pennsylvania was where rye was originated.
Yep.
And so I mean Pennsylvania, Maryland, I mean they're adjoining.
Absolutely.
And so this is I mean it makes sense that rye that would have been a rye area.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh.
Now the ABV's a little higher on this one, isn't it?
Yes, this one is I think 60% ABV. No, 55% ABV.
Okay. So yeah, you can definitely pick it up on the nose.
Yeah. This one's got a little bit of heat to it, a little bit of, and you're picking that up in the nose.
Yeah, definitely. But man.
Oh, but man, that's got a nice herbal aspect to it.
Yeah.
Caramel is present. This is man, this plays really well in the nose.
Yeah, it does.
It's a little less floral, a little more herbal.
Agreed. That's what I was thinking. It's like somebody took the Russell Reserve here,
the Pikesville.
Well, no, because I think
Russell
it's
Reserve.
similar to this one, but then they just kind of kicked it up a notch and removed the floral component, so you still get all those That's what I like about that versus some of the other ones. You get the same rye aspects that you expect, but they kind of bump it up a notch. That's like, we say they turn it up to 11. That turns it up to 12, I think. It's just a little bit more.
Yeah, take that, Spinal Tap.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, that is stunning. Yeah, there isn't any of the floral there. I'm not really getting any of that minty kind of eucalyptus that we got out of the High West.
No, I'm really picking up those caramel notes in that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm getting that herbal aspect to it that I really dig out of the rye.
Wow, that's good. And the interesting thing is you definitely get a little bit of bite from the ABV, and you certainly get some spice from that peppery note from the barrel, but it's welcomed in this case. It just kind of seems to complete it.
What's interesting is we're approaching these things as Scotch drinkers.
Yeah.
And we kind of approach bourbon that way. Bourbon has, we found some fantastic bourbons. The Henry McKenna is certainly my favorite right now.
Agreed.
But I think I like it because of the herbal nature of it that they bring with the rye into that.
Yeah, I think that if I remember correctly, the mash bill on that one had that at like 10% rye, and that seemed to work really well, where you get the best of the bourbon, just a little bit of rye to add that depth to it.
But every one of these ryes I can appreciate, being a Scotch drinker, with the complexity that Scotch brings.
Yeah.
I'm finding that here with the ryes also.
Yeah, I love the complexity that rye brings to the table. I like the warmth that goes with it too, especially in the Pikesville. That's just a nice, warm, kind of dark, just gorgeous whiskey.
If you like things like the Glenmorangie, you like the Highlands, without, or Brut Lottie, like the classic Lottie, you're probably going to dig rye.
You're absolutely right. The classic Lottie is actually a really good point, because it has, you're right. It has the complexity, but it's not overwhelming. And these, I think that would be a very good comparison.
Okay.
So the question is, does it pair with chocolate?
Does it pair with chocolate? All right.
Because it may be fantastic, but if it doesn't pair with chocolate,
I know, then it's going to get poured down the sink.
mm-hmm.
No, suck it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nadine.
Best brownies ever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me while I light up a cigarette.
So, again, the Rittenhouse went really well with the brownie, and the Pikesville went really well with the brownie, and both of them are from the same distiller.
Interesting.
It's almost like they specifically made them to be paired with chocolate, because that really is amazing.
You know, and there's similarities between those two.
There are.
Um, wow.
The Pikesville is certainly more intense than what we've got here with the Rittenhouse. But you're right, there are certain flavors that kind of carry over, and this has a bit of a nuttiness to it that I pick up slightly on the Pikesville.
Yeah, but just on the very back end.
I agree.
But there are some similarities between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were to take the two, and you could probably tell that they're from the same distillery.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that is a perfect combination.
Yeah, I agree. That works very nicely. And
Yeah.
see, I thought Scotch and chocolate was a thing, but apparently this works as
Apparently,
well.
rye and chocolate is
Yum.
absolutely a thing.
And it works well in old fashions, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what that's what I've read too. Is that some of these pair very well with the old fashioned.
Well, and that's an interesting point, because I was actually looking into the history of rye as far as the United States is concerned, and really rye was primarily viewed as being a mixing drink, something that you use in a cocktail and whatnot, and it isn't until recently that people really started getting into drinking it neat, outside of certain regional areas. I mean, regionally that it was viewed as just a standard whiskey and you would drink it neat, but by and large across the U.S. as a whole, it was primarily viewed as something that you used as a mixer. And it wasn't until fairly recently that people have kind of transitioned away from that, and I'll be honest with you, drinking it neat to me has been very rewarding.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that this isn't drank neat as much.
I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, after having that Pikesville, that to me is just,
sure.
I don't know that, the Rittenhouse or some of these other ones, maybe I'd use it as a mixer, but really, all of them are good neat.
Well, I think the Rittenhouse would work well as a mixer. I think the Highland, I think the Highland, the High West would work well as a mixer too.
I would be more inclined to use the High West as a mixer, although I guess it depends on what you're putting it in. If you're really looking for that heavy, stereotypical rye aspect, I don't know that you're getting it out of that, whereas with the Rittenhouse, you certainly wouldn't. At $25, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
if it goes sideways, you're not out a lot of money.
And just kind of just rolling this around in my head, I don't know if I would put that in Old Fashioned, but I would absolutely put that in a Godfather.
That I could see.
Pair that with some amaretto, I think that would be amazing.
I bet you're right. We may have to try that at some point.
Yeah, I think we got a Godfather night coming up
I think that'd
down
be
the
a
line.
really good idea.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some interesting things coming up. I know next week's Whiskey Wednesday, we've got the locals coming up. So those of you that are watching, don't forget, pick out a local distillery that you want to talk about, because we're definitely looking to support our locals. We've definitely picked up
we picked up a few. Yeah.
Narrowing it down is becoming problematic for us, because there are a couple good ones around here.
Yeah, absolutely. And being in Georgia and everything, we have some fantastic distilleries here.
Yeah.
So AWS is one that you found. Old Fort Distillery is one we've tried here on the show, and then I just bought a new one called Moonrise.
Yep.
And that's out of Rayburn, Georgia.
Yeah, so that's not in the city itself. That's
not in the
actually
city.
outside of the city. That's more rural.
Yeah.
So we've got two from the city and one that's more rural. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I picked up an interesting selection that we'll do and I'll use that as my my Whiskey Wednesday selection.
Awesome. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously, as you can see, we're getting more into the ryes and the bourbons and stuff like that. And I think you'll continue to see us introduce more and more of that into these. But don't forget, we're Scotch lovers at heart, so we'll be making frequent returns to Islay and Scotland as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. We've got some interesting scotches that'll be coming up in upcoming shows. But I mean, the show is called The Spirited Endeavor. That's not a Scotch endeavor, so we're absolutely interested in trying, all different kinds of whiskeys all over the world. In fact, we're going to have a Japanese show coming up again.
Yeah. Now, while we're thinking of it, we're just getting into rye. I would say, have a fair amount of experience now, or at least something to
A little bit.
kind of calibrate our palate, so to speak. But by no means are we kind of overly familiar with rye. So if there's something that you guys are aware of that you think we should be trying, by all means, let us know. This, to me, is a pretty good representation of what's out there.
I think so.
As far as, again, I think that Pikesville is just stellar. And the Rittenhouse, I think, is a really good, reasonably priced, accessible rye. And I think, yeah, if you can point us in a direction of something that you personally enjoy, we'd love to hear about it. Because, again, we're looking to expand our horizons.
Absolutely, and we'll report on anything that we're trying.
Yeah.
So we're doing our Whiskey Wednesdays. We're doing our Priming the Pump episodes. We're of course putting out our Saturday show.
Mm-hmm.
So our whole purpose is to share this and get everyone interested. Certainly get the feedback. We really want to hear what you're drinking, how you're drinking it.
Yeah.
And if you've got suggestions out there, we would love to hear that.
Absolutely. And just to clarify a little bit for those who might be new to our channel. So what we do is every Saturday we have these lives where we just kind of go over, something like we're doing tonight, maybe a range of ryes where we just kind of do comparisons. Then we have Whiskey Wednesdays where we'll pick a subject and maybe kind of geek out a little bit on the whole whiskey thing. We've done the effects of air on whiskey, what that does to a whiskey, what cold does to a whiskey, stuff of that nature. So we kind of geek out a little bit, but it's a little informal. So yeah, there's F-bombs and stuff of that nature, but it's kind of it's a fun deep dive on the technical aspects of whiskey. And then we do the Priming the Pump episodes, which generally tend to be around 5 minutes in duration, and it's where we pick one particular whiskey and we just do a review on that one whiskey. So needless to say, there's lots of those.
Yeah, for sure. We've done a few of them tonight, and I'm feeling it. So,
it's been a good night.
Yeah, for sure. And our Whiskey Wednesdays, my brother Henry usually joins us, and that ends up bringing a fun dynamic to this, and we really love hanging out with him.
Yeah, and then, for those of you that are new to the channel, instead of bleeping people, we just have a sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the sheep button.
The sheep gets used a lot.
That's right.
The sheep is abused. We love our sheep.
That's right. So, anyhow, this has been great, man.
Man, I've enjoyed this.
I've really learned a lot about rye and about American whiskey in general, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely have more of an appreciation for it than I did before.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to pair with your whiskey, and let us know if there's an interesting pairing that you have.
That's a good point. Chocolate clearly is a good safe bet because at the end of the day, even if it's horrible, it's still chocolate.
Yep. We're gonna have some other interesting pairings coming up. You never know when I'm gonna just grab a handful of sardines or something like that and throw it with the whiskey.
Just thinking sardines. I don't know why that is.
I think that would go really well with one of those like a Talisker Storm.
I was just thinking the same thing because I do those on crackers, and I was just thinking something like a Talisker or an Isla would go really well with that.
Fabulous.
We may find out.
All right, guys. All right. Well, this has been a fun night.
Yeah, it has.
I'm gonna eat the rest of this brownie.
That's happening.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, join us on Saturday nights. Find our YouTube channel.
Yep.
We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Just type in "Add a Spirited Endeavor." You'll find us. Leave us some feedback. Send us some love. We'd love to hear from you.
And hopefully we see you Wednesday.
All right. Bye.
Take care, guys.